Your body shapes the way you think. Um, yes, your body shapes the way you think. And I think people sometimes can get uh, mad at this idea that women and men can think differently. Um, but before I dive into that subject, I want to say this. I want to take an example that can help me illustrate easily what I mean by that. That um, your body shapes the way you think. So, for example, let's say you are. Let's say let me take myself as an example. Okay, I am slim. I am tall. I'm black. I have 4C hair, which is which is let's say prone to breakage sometimes if it's not taken properly. So it's coarse. I don't like this term, but the the hair is coarse, but it's actually very fragile, very delicate. Um, so what else can I say? I'm black, right? So I want to take. Okay, I have very tiny boobs. They're very small. So I want to take all of these elements and show you how that can translate into what I think on a daily basis. I have, um, for example, I'm tall. So me being tall means that sometimes I would think about things that tall people go through, tall people think about. For example, when I'm walking in a certain door, I think about like maybe like lowering my head a little bit because that's a situation that we tall people often come across where certain things are just right at the level where we could easily bump our head or stuff like that. So we have this natural thought of knowing, okay, I need to pay attention to my head. Heels. I like wearing heels. But when going out, this is something that sometimes I question, should I wear heels, should I not? Because although I like heels, sometimes I don't want to be the only one staring over other people's heads. I don't want to be taller than the average people because sometimes it's uncomfortable when having conversations with people, when have like I'm already tall, so when I wear heels, depending on where I go, I may be over, like way over other people's heads. And when you're at a party like this, I remember this happened to me once, and it really stayed with me because I'm like, wow, this is not interesting. Like, if I'm naturally like that, if I'm naturally taller than most people, then I guess I just accept that this is the way it is. But when I'm putting myself in that situation where I'm like, wow, I'm actually staring at people's bald spots. And at that party, I remember I was like, wow, wow, it's just weird. So, this is something that someone that's very short will never have to go through when they're wearing heels. They could wear 12-inch heels and that wouldn't be a problem. It would still be short, depending on your height, obviously. And, so for me, it's not the same. Let's take another example. Um, I'm I said I said I'm black, right? So, for example, the fact that I'm black means that I rarely ever get burned in the sun. Like, yes, I know the sun affects me, and everybody can get sun damage, but it's much less common in black communities. That's just a fact. I mean, it's less common. It's so not common that we don't even think about it. Like, we often think about, oh my god, like, okay, so we're gonna get burned, like, it becomes darker, but it's not necessarily painful. It's not necessarily uncomfortable. Like, when the sun is very hot, blazing like that, obviously it's uncomfortable because it's hot. So you get hot. So the discomfort comes from being hot. And sometimes it's overwhelming. But it's not as bad as someone who has a lighter skin tone, um, who may be constantly thinking, oh, I'm going to the beach, I need some protection. It's, or, it's, I mean, growing up, this is not a thought that would occur, that would pop up naturally, until, you know, sunscreen and all that stuff became very popular, very people pushing that because we need to protect ourselves against the sun and. So that became very, but in my life, like growing up, I would never see anybody in my family wear sunscreen because the way our body was designed, we had a layer, an extra layer of protection, if I can call it like, if I can say it like that. So this is another clear example, an obvious example of what your body can, of how your body influences your thoughts. What else did I mention? I mentioned that I had no boobs, like no big boobs. My boobs are tiny. So many things don't cross my mind when I'm going out, like, or when buying. I mean, sometimes I would think of certain things, and other people with bigger boobs would think of the opposite, obviously. Because, for example, me, whatever I wear, even if it's very um, exposing, very, like, I have cleavage and all that stuff, it's hardly ever vulgar. People don't necessarily perceive that as not decent. Of course, like, there are places, like at work, I would never go like that. But what I say is, even if I do wear something that shows most of my torso, people wouldn't see that as being like, oh my god, you know? Um, so for me, wearing whatever I please, in a sense, does not come with the constant worry of being indecent, of being vulgar, of being provocative, you know? So this is not a worry that I have. But for people who have very, like, bigger boobs that are plump and voluminous, they may worry about that. I mean, if they worry about that, depends on how you grew up and stuff like that. But they may think about, my god, like, I may not be able to wear this top to go to work because it will show too much of my boobs, and so this is uncomfortable. Or I don't want the wrong attention, you know. I don't want the wrong attention. Like, for example, I go out, I'm like, whatever. Whatever. So the way your body is designed, and also obviously the way you grew up, the way, and all that stuff, it shapes the way you think and the way you interact with the world. At the same time, too, I don't worry about bras. I don't worry about back pain because I'm not constantly, like, having something that's weighing down. I'm not when jumping rope, I don't have this reflex of having to hold my stomach, hold my boobs, because it's not something that I, so these are clear examples of how your body shapes the way you think. It's fascinating. And the more we go into subtle, not so obvious differences, the more we tend to forget, or we may think that these things don't have an influence on us and how we perceive the world and how we, you know. So, for example, if I take another example of you people, something that's different than me. If someone is big, if someone is heavy or overweight, they may think about the stairs of their place, and having to constantly think about, oh my god, I need to go up the stairs, because they are carrying weight. I mean, going upstairs is already difficult for anybody. I mean, if you're not in good shape, even if you're slim, if you're not in good shape, like, it's very difficult. But stairs are a challenge. But when you carry more weight, it's as if you had, imagine when you go to the supermarket, and you I mean, after you do the groceries and then you're going to your apartment and you have to carry a lot of bags and stuff, it's uncomfortable. So it's the same for that person who's going up the stairs, because who is fat, let's say, and is going up the stairs, they're carrying weight. We don't see it like that, but it's mass that this skeleton has to go up the stairs. So when you think about this, the person constantly complaining maybe about the stairs is valid, because they're doing more work. And so me, for example, I think about the stairs, but I don't necessarily like, it's not necessarily a negative thing for me, because I don't have that experience, because of what my body allows me to do. The same way someone who is big may think about, oh, for the plane ticket, I don't know, I hope the plane is spacious enough where I feel comfortable in that seat, and I won't have to buy two seats. Or I hope the other person next to me won't be big as well, because that will be uncomfortable for the both of us. Just like me, when I'm going, for example, in public transportation or in planes too. I mean, it's just public transportation, but I'm talking about buses and planes. So one thing in public buses, especially the small buses in the Caribbean, when you catch these buses, the seats are so close to each other. Like, when it comes to, not in terms of let's say the space between the benches, the seats. So my feet are very long, and this is something that I constantly dread about when I need to catch a public transportation. I need to catch a bus. I'm going on the plane. I think about, the plane is not that bad. So, but for buses, it's very bad, especially if you sit in the back, because, and even in cars too sometimes, because since my feet are long, they often, they have this blockage. They can't. There's no space. My knees touch the back of the other seat, and it's very uncomfortable. And I often think of bad stuff happening, like if there's an accident or something, God forbid. It's just so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I need to look to put my feet like that, my legs like that, just so it wouldn't, it's just uncomfortable. Anyways, I always think about that, but that's something that someone who's short will never think about, because this is not something that they have to experience. So your body shapes the way you think. Now think about things that we don't see, the physical aspects that we don't see. For example, imagine that in your body you have a higher level of hormones. That changes the way your brain works, the way your muscles work, everything. So sometimes when they say men think differently than women, I don't think that's far-fetched. Of course, we cannot take away the fact that we've been conditioned into thinking in certain ways, like culture, traditions, religion, philosophies, etc., etc., etc. We have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of things telling us this is how you need to work, this is how you need to think, this is how you need to behave, this is how you need to interact with people, etc., etc. Yes, there is conditioning, and I'm not saying that, like, a lot of it has to do with what we've been told. But I do think that essentially the way our bodies are designed do make us behave in certain ways that are proper to the sex or to the body's design. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit of both. For example, men having short hair is something that is conditioned, right? That is something that has been inculcated. That's a word, inculqué, but that has been taught, let's say. There is no, I don't think there's anything in our physical design that would tell us one group needs to cut their hair and the other shouldn't. But I think the way we do it, when we do it, sometimes it's not a matter of control, but rather sometimes it is a matter of control. Okay, I'm not undermining that, but other times it's just for purposes of communication. In the natural world, animals don't change their appearance, that they don't really change their appearance, but they do send signals in certain ways, in the way they sing, in the way they behave sometimes, the way they position their body, like when males are mating with women or looking for mates, they may engage in certain behaviors, like the I forgot the name of this bird who kind of has like this beautiful, you know which one I'm talking about. I forgot the name. I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to keep saying things that you guys don't understand. Peacock, the peacock. So, for example, the peacock would just spread its. It's not. What is it? It's tail. Let's say tail. It's not a tail per se, but a tail. Oh my god. A train. So it's called a train. It's a tail. It's not a true tail exactly. It's just a tail. I mean, it's a train. It's called a train. So it spread its feathers um, to kind of show something. Some 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 species evolve to develop certain physical aspects like red rednecks and stuff like that to send signals to other animals and yeah, to just to their environment, which is so fascinating to me. And I think maybe this is how we proceed too with certain things. For example, the way certain tribes, certain African tribes will um, maybe like show, they will cut certain parts of their bodies, burn them, etc., to create scars and create a sort of language with people around them. So I think oftentimes it doesn't necessarily come from a matter of control, but a matter of wanting to communicate their beliefs, the hierarchy in the society. Um, so yeah, I mean it's a lot, but I do think that generally we just we don't think the same. And I'm not talking about ability. Yes, we both can be very critical, you know, I mean, critical and intelligent and all that. But I do think our bodies, you know, shape the way we think, the way we see things. Um, so for a man, for example, will never think about um, periods in that way, or they don't dread a particular period of the month. Like when you think about that, that's mind blowing. Like it's so natural that we don't really, or we're so used to that we don't really stop and think about these things. But when you think about the way we're different, it's crazy. Like for example, a woman, when you zip your pants, you're not necessarily being careful because you're just zipping your pants. You're like, right? But for a man, they do have to be kind of careful when zipping their pants up because they might, you know, hurt themselves because there's something there that they have to be cautious about. You just never think about that because that's not your reality. That's not what your body interacts with things. And so these thoughts don't cross your mind. Like there's just so much, man. There's just so much. And when you think about each little physical difference, even the ones that we don't see, because if between two women there could be a world of difference, for men it's even, that difference may be even clearer, that difference may be even deeper, I mean wider. um so yeah. So yeah, now the other things that have been pushed into, you know, like they just force in our heads through all kinds of information, all kinds of entertainment, movies, songs, etc., etc. So I think when it comes to appearance, I wonder. I don't think it has much to do with our bodies necessarily.